Good morning. Welcome. It's Welcome Wednesday. You are on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vicki Hellman. Today we have a cybersecurity expert. We have somebody from Red Clover, the CEO, and we're going to be talking about cyber safety, cybersecurity, and how to protect you and your clients going forward. I just want to let you know, if you're new here, this is the Coffee Break Show. We go live Monday through Friday. We share tips, tools, techniques, inspiration, and motivation. Those things are going to help you create thrivability in your life. And I see you guys starting to pop on. I just want to welcome you to the show. If you're new here, put your name down here. I want to meet you. I want to say hello to you. And if you're one of our regulars who watch the show every day, thank you for being here. Thank you. And it's afterwards, if you're like, dang, I missed the show today, just do me a favor right now and put hashtag replay on it, and we will be seeing you in the show. So I just want to welcome Jodi Daniels here. And I want to tell you, this is such an important day. It is one of the most key important days you could ever be on this show. And the reason I'm saying this is because one of the most important things you have is your privacy. And the other thing that is important is the trust and privacy of your clients. And when you don't have those two things, you have no credit scores, no business links, no way to build your business. If people don't trust you, if they can't trust you with their most important information, you have no business coming on. So Jodi, I just want to say welcome to the Coffee Break Show today. Hey, nice to see you on, Lisa.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here too.
I know. I'm so glad you're here. It has been, and I want to be really honest. I want to tell you why I want Jodi here. I can go over all of her accolades, all of her expertise, all of the Fortune 500 companies that she's helped. But I just want to say why I want her here. I've had my identity stolen at 23 years old. I've been hacked. You guys know I got hacked this year, and they took 40% of my portfolio. 40%. Now listen, it's not $40. It was 40% of the portfolio. And what happens when you don't have customer trust? What happens when you don't have your privacy? What happens? It has been a nightmare to navigate what's happening in the world right now, but especially with cybersecurity, because Jodi, I don't think people understand it. And I'm just wondering if you could just start with kind of a definition of why this is important and why do you do what you do and what got you started in it?
Sure. Well, it's important for so many different reasons. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking today about the safety and the security part. There's kind of another side, which is also the privacy piece. And privacy includes security, but it's also the use and collection. So we go shopping at a site. You know, we buy backpacks. It's back to school. So, hopefully you're buying a backpack. Maybe you're buying school supplies. We'll go with school supplies so that we don't have to upset anyone about in school or out of school. And, you're going to enter in your information. What is the company doing with it? So are they going to, they're obviously going to use it to send you whatever it is that you've bought. And then where do they store it? And who did they store it with? And are those people going to protect it? So we're going to talk a lot about protection. But then also, what is the company going to do with it? They now know that you have school-age children. Do they share that with someone who's really interested in knowing school-age children? Do they sell that information? Do they market to you? Do they market with other people? Right? What is it that they're doing? That is the use and collection piece. That's privacy, and I do a lot about that. And the security part is the daisy chain, right? You enter data in online, and then there's this massive digital footprint that is capturing you and following you everywhere you go, every single thing that you do all day. And it's kind of important to understand, who are these people and what are they doing with it? And what control do you have? What information do you have? And how can you protect yourself from the bad actors? Because unfortunately, there's always a bad apple in a bunch.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Somewhere along the daisy chain, there is somebody. Now I know how fast this can happen. I experienced being 23. Somebody broke into my car, took a purse that had $2, 49 checks, and a social security card. They went into another state, assumed my identity, got a driver's license, took out loans in my names and things in my names and everything else in my name. And we don't realize how easy that is to happen online. How easy it is for people to go ahead and come into your data, take it, become you. And isn't there a type of, what do they call it right now? A type of cyber theft where once they get your identity, if you have a house that you've paid on and you have a amount of equity in it, and they can steal it and they do a quit claim deed and make it look like they purchased your house or something like that. And then they start taking loans out as well. So it's like, what if you bought something innocently off somebody's funnel that you needed, and you ran your credit card through, and they didn't protect that information enough, and they could steal your identity in that way and somehow begin to drain the money out of your bank account, or drain the money or equity out of your home, or get into a portfolio and take those things. And protecting your customer in your business, is there some legal obligation that a business owner has to protect their customers' privacy and or protect their customers' account? And how do they do that? I mean, how is that done?
Yeah,
By the way, I want to say good morning. Good morning, everybody. This is Jodi, if you're just coming on, and she is a cybersecurity expert, and we are that's what we're talking about now. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
Go ahead.
You're fine. So there are absolutely laws in a variety of different ways. So first, it kind of depends on the industry. If you have if we're talking about health data, and it's really important to understand that just because it's a health-related thing doesn't mean it's protected by what most people are familiar with, at least in the United States, which is called HIPAA. I know we have a global audience, so around the world, there's different privacy laws, and health data is generally always a protected class, but it's not always the same definition of what health data is. If I'm entering into some type of app because I want to track my fitness and my diet or my blood pressure, that might not be the same as going to a doctor or a hospital, right? There's different levels of health information. So that's the first piece. But around the world, health data is often very sensitive and classified. Financial data is another one. In the United States, there's a special law around financial data. That's why you get that often a mail-in piece that people generally open, and they're like, oh, that's a lot of legal language. I'm going to throw that away. But in that is actually their obligation of what they're supposed to do with it. Again, around the world, financial information is included in personal data and they need to protect it. But believe it or not, the United States has some really strict laws when it comes to the privacy of personal data. There's a lot that happens internationally around financial data to really make sure that we don't have, money laundering and things along those lines. So the trail for financial data is a little bit different. And then you have kind of just the rest of personal data, right? You go online, you buy something, your name, your email. Maybe you didn't even buy anything. You just went online and looked for something. It'd be interesting if people listening have ever gone online and noticed that they bought something and now it shows up in their Facebook feed. Or
yes.
Please come back. You didn't even log into the site, but please come back and please buy that, whatever it is you've looked at, like sheets and bookcase and desk and everything else. So the laws that are here to protect us, there's a big global one that raised a lot of headlines. It's called GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation out of Europe. And it affects everybody around the world. It doesn't matter if you are a solo blogger, if you're nonprofit, if you're for profit, it affects everybody. If you are actively serving an audience in the EU. So Jodi has to be in France, in the EU, right? One of its member countries. And I'm trying to target you. I can be in scope. I can just be a little solo blogger and I have to comply with GDPR. And in that are obligations to protect the data. Here in the United States, there's a brand new law called the California Consumer Privacy Act. It just became effective and enforceable in 2020. And it too has obligations really to protect data, because if you don't, there's the potential for a class action lawsuit.
Wow.
There are other state laws that say you must protect this data. New York has one, Massachusetts has one, and around the world, there's a variety of different privacy laws that are about protecting data. And the protection is twofold. It's the security from preventing people from from stealing it so that they don't have what you had, but also that use and collection. So it's my data in some countries, it's the individual's data. In other countries, it's more like the company's data. And then maybe individual will tell you what we're doing and give you some rights, but they still have to protect it. So it just kind of depends on the industry and on the sector and on the part of the world that someone's in.
See, I think this is so important to understand, because a lot of times, a lot of times there is so much data breaching that goes on, and so we concentrate on how to build this or how to do that, but not protect our clients. When you have a business, I don't care what kind it is, and I know there's a lot of people that are watching right now. You guys, I'll get to you. Everybody's gone crazy right now on this side. I'll be right there in just a second. I just want to make this point. I know there are a lot of you that have employees on this show, and I know a lot of you are small business. Maybe you have 2 people or 5 people, wherever it is. I have one question. Let's say I hire a VA, and the VA, do I have to have them sign something or do something that says they're going to protect the data that's coming into our office? Am I responsible for it, or are they responsible for it, or they're both? How does that work? And we have a boatload of stuff to go over here. I'll go in a minute.
Great question. And you're both responsible for it. And the first piece is exactly what you said. You want to have a contract, whether it's a VA, a marketing agency, the person doing your Facebook ads, the person doing payroll for you, your books, whoever it is. There should be a contract that says you're going to protect my data, and also probably something that says it's my data. You can't use it for however you want.
Interesting.
It's my data. Because imagine if you don't have that clause, then they have access to it. They could use it how they want if it's still protected. You don't want that. It's your, you want them to only use it for the purpose that you hired them to use it for. So you absolutely need them to be protected. But at the same time, the person or the company who has the data on the other side, they also have to protect it. And small to big, you tend to see it a little bit more in those mid-sized to bigger companies, where they're going to do vendor assessments. They're going to make sure, who are you? And okay, so how are you going to actually protect my data? And again, as you kind of scale up, that becomes even more and more important and critical, because the volume of data and the amount of data and who it's going to, all of that scales right along the way. Again, even if you're small, you need to ensure whoever has access to that data, wherever they are in the world, they're going to adhere to the highest privacy and security standards. And many of the laws require that to happen. So you have to have a contract in place to have
Fantastic. That. This is so fascinating. I'm so fascinated already. Thank you. I want to jump over here. Cybersecurity, this is Don Gifford. Cybersecurity is increasing in importance as monies evolve online, such as cryptocurrency, banking, or online wallets. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has given approval for federally chartered banks to provide custody service to crypto assets. This is a major transition for cryptocurrencies. Thank you for that. Scott says, in a creepy kind of cool way, Facebook and targeting is crazy accurate, and I'm always fascinated by the advertisers that end up feeding me ads. I would have never found these products without the ad targeting. That's so interesting, isn't it? It is just exactly like this. I'm not sure what this is. This is news issue, news release. There's something there about the Office of the Comptroller that he was talking about. Karen says, when was the last time you didn't read the terms and conditions of an online product? I don't read them. I just hit agree. You won't believe what permissions we give to give our data away. It's true. That's a big one. Lisa says, I remember when GDPR came about and all of the online businesses were freaking out. Now CCPA is causing a similar effect. You guys, this is incredible. Robin says, that makes sense. Who has time to read the 40 pages of terms of service, and who can understand all the legalese? It's maddening. If you don't give permission, I can't use the app. own personal choice. Yes. Jodi, you mentioned the terms and conditions, Doc, that most of us just agree to. In my experience, if I choose no, I can't use the program. That's most likely, it's true. And we probably give a lot of stuff away from there. I'm not sure who this Facebook user is, but welcome.
They're very private.
I'm working on a project called CyberCon IQ, focusing on the behaviors that compromise our data, because we know tech solutions are limited, but behavior provides expanded protections. Is that true?
It's true. It's a really fascinating project. I'd like to hear more about that. So,
Yeah.
Facebook user, feel free to find me and share more.
I have found that to be true. More people are agreeing. Oh, it's Ryan. Hey, Ryan. Nice to see you, buddy. I knew you'd be here because this is like up your alley in geekdom right here. We're like, cybersecurity. But it's so important. It's so important right now. I can't tell you, I've been a victim so much. If I knew some of the stuff she had right now, I might be a little richer, because they got 40% of my portfolio and it never came back. Good talk. I'm protected more than most and thankful. Thank you. I want to continue this, guys. I know you're all in the conversation. Thank you for asking the questions and doing your thing. Fire away. But I really want to get down to some things. I'm like, okay, what if you're hearing this for the first time and you're thinking, what are 3 things that I could do right now that could just bolster up a little bit more privacy and safety for the data for my clients, and privacy policies on the site? What do they have to have in them?
Yep. So the items that you want to do right away, and the fun part about this is it's a double whammy, because it's going to help protect your personal items and all the things you need to be doing in your business. And they're going to sound super simple, but you'd be surprised at how fundamentally simple they are and important that they are. So the first is a complex password. And what I mean by a complex password is, I love coffee, pick your favorite number and pick a symbol, right? Pick a phrase, pick a number, pick a symbol, do some capitals, interplay where the numbers and the symbols go, but kind of pick a phrase, as opposed to writing a complicated password down and putting on a sticky note and then putting the sticky note on your computer. That's not the best way to come up with a complex password. Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many people do the sticky note approach.
I'm laughing because I'm one of those people, and I was like, okay, I gotta stop.
I hear you. But pick a phrase that's kind of meaningful to you. And then the next thing is to help you with that complex phrase. Try not to pick the same complex phrase for all your websites. Use a password manager. So I like LastPass. There's others like Dashlane and OnePass. They're great for a multitude of reasons. You can store all of them in there. Then you just have one complex password to remember, and it's storing it in a highly protected way, so you don't have to remember all of that. The other benefit, you were asking about VAs or other members of your team. If you need to share the password, you can share access to the account in those tools without actually sharing the password. So you have the ability to kind of grant the access. The password comes over encrypted in a manner that's going to protect you. So highly recommend a complex password, and then also accompany it with a password manager.
So number 1, complex password, a password manager. We use LastPass. I love them. Yep. And third.
So, I'm going to make that number 1 because I have 2 other good ones. The other simple one, so important, is going to be what we call 2FA, two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. But there's so many places that people don't always think about it. So a lot of times people think of their bank. So, right, it's my financial information, right? 40% of your portfolio. So making sure that you can protect more than just your bank. Think about your email. Do you use Dropbox? Do you use Google Docs? Yes. Do you use Box.com? Your social media accounts. Put 2FA on your social media accounts, personal or brand. Do you want anyone hacking into your social accounts? And people do this all the time, both personal and professional. Put 2FA on that. Think about any of the cloud tools that you use, almost all of them, your accounting system. So if you're a business, making sure that you have, are you Xero or QuickBooks or FreshBooks or your CRM tools. any place that there is 2FA available, pick it and select it.
Okay.
You can use you can do the text code, but there's also authentication managers.
Mm-hmm.
There is Google Authenticator. There's some
That's
other ones
right.
like Authy. There's Ping ID. There's a variety of them to help you with this. And I'll be honest, it was a little annoying when I first transitioned to this, but now it's just a thing, and it's just easy to use, and I feel better protected. And I've done webinars with the Secret Service and other cybersecurity professionals, and they will tell you a strong password plus 2FA will prevent a significant amount of the bad malicious acting that takes place.
Wow.
So these two simple things,
Wow.
simple, are so important and so significant. And it's a little bit of a toss-up for the next one. I'm going to have to go with either phishing, really understand a phishing email and know what to look for in a phishing email.
Mm-hmm.
Subject line, sense of urgency, look at who it's from, the logo. Were you expecting something from this person? Is the spelling wrong? Really understand a phishing email. Phishing emails are off the charts right now. Given the pandemic of what we have, bad actors are like, oh, this is great. Everyone's home. I can pry for everybody. So phishing is going crazy. Be familiar with how to look out for phishing. And then the other is, because everyone's working remote, making sure that we talked about strong passwords. Don't forget about your router.
Mm.
So those will be that was like 4 or 5. I couldn't.
Yeah, but that was really brilliant. And I know I started checking off what I need to do, what's already done. I was like going through my head. A 2FA authenticator. That was a powerful tip. That's a very powerful tip. I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for that.
Yep. And you
I gotta
also
admit,
about privacy notice. So I see there might be a couple questions if we want to address those, but I do want to make sure I come back to the privacy notice one.
Yep.
When we're ready.
Yeah, so they already want to find out how they can connect with you today. We're not even at the halfway mark, and they're already like, how do we get a hold of her? This is the second one. So I want to just add, what address, how can they get a hold of you? And we'll pop it right in there so that they can be in contact with you.
Yeah, so my website's real simple. It's just redcloveradvisors.com. And I'm easily found on LinkedIn as well, and Facebook. You can find me there. And then we also we've kind of put together, we were going to share it at the end, but we can do it twice. Why not? Some of these tips I've pulled together into like a remote work best practices guide. So I think we have a link. It's on my website, but it's, like / and 1,000 words after it. So Karen, I think if you can help whenever you're ready to be able to
plop that right in there so they can get a hold of you and talk about this. Let's see. I really begun using Safari browser strong password generator. I always then copy it, keeping it on a printed document or in the cloud. However, using the cloud still gives me pause. Yes, I would still do that. Whoa, you guys! Wow.
Scott,
I cannot keep up here.
Still do that. Still use that strong password, but I would match it with a password management system, because if anyone ever got your printed document, now they have all your passwords. So, and while the password generators are in the cloud, they have been tested, and they really are still recommended by a number of cybersecurity professionals and individuals all the way up to enterprise companies really do use these password management. They're kind of the best that we have on the market. So I would recommend combining this awesome strong password, which I will still do, with one of those password manager systems. Brilliant. And even they have strong password generators you can use too.
Just want to welcome everybody onto the show that's coming on again. We are talking about Cybersecurity Day today in a big way. Donnie says, thus the need for decentralized shopping experiences to protect your own data. Could you imagine if you were paid for your own data instead of private company profiting from yours? We've become monetized. Then yes, we have. That's the thing. The next transition will be personal monetization. You're your own corporation, thus importance of privacy. This is a very interesting thing right here that I think is very, very important. I do want to say this, and I told her this beforehand. I told her before we got on live, I was telling her how excited I was, and you guys are obviously excited. I'll get you that the conversation has gone wild. But what I want to say is, It used to be that you used to have a website and everybody could buy with PayPal. And I still love PayPal. So I want to talk to you product providers and program providers and those things who provide B2B or B2C. It doesn't matter. When I'm online, I'm going to push the PayPal button way more many times than I am going to give you my credit card. Because if I buy 10 things in a day and I'm letting my credit card out 10 times a day, my credit card information so that you can bill me next month is really what you want. You want that tag so you can hit my credit card with ease every single month. And I'd still rather have you hit my PayPal account every single month. I don't want to give you my credit card. And so if some of you would go back to putting that PayPal option up, I would actually like that because that makes me feel safer as a shopper. I'm going to let you know that now. Let's see. Two-factor. You guys, I can't keep up. I can't even see where okay, here. All crypto entities will not even let you deposit assets without 2FA. That's correct. Be familiar with phishing scams. It is from someone you know is the logo in the alignment. Let's see, two-factor authentication and everything. It's a little annoying, but is a huge safety procedure. I don't think it's annoying. I feel safer with it. Remember to do it on your personal and business social email too. I like that backup. But no matter what you do, what Jodi's talking about is the future now. We're going to be doing this going on forward into the future. These things aren't going away. These are things that we have to adapt to and adopt for our own protection and our own way of being. This is something that's, really important. Yes, sometimes it's the littlest thing. The phishing scammers are really good at using urgency to divert you away from the time you need to take and to assess. I agree with that too. It's about integrating LastPass with what I already do. Slowly but surely, I've been implementing LastPass. Whoa, you guys, whoa. To what extent will blockchain support privacy? Good question. Is that something you can talk about?
I had a conversation with someone about this on Monday. I think it was Monday. So days are all a blur. And, it's an interesting question. There's a number of people who believe that blockchain will help support privacy because it can take away some of the passing of the actual personal data. And it's, the ability to still share information between one or multiple companies, but in a more secure way. At the same time, it's not a widely adopted everywhere. People are still trying to kind of figure out where can I put it. The crypto world is sort of the first to adopt that. The advertising world is going to the point of the targeted advertising. Blockchain's trying to be adopted in advertising. And how can they use this? So instead of cookies, which the browsers are phasing out in 2 years anyways, what are you going to be using? And could blockchain be a fit? So I certainly see a future for blockchain. There's a number of companies that were trying to utilize, someone had mentioned GDPR, and blockchain and GDPR were kind of a big thing of we're going to solve the world's GDPR problems by using blockchain. But then you have other people who are, well, but I have to be able to understand the whole flow of data. And if blockchain's here, how do I do that? So there was kind of some disconnect almost between the point of blockchain and the point of GDPR. So that's pieces to kind of continue to be working out.
So there's a lot of implementation with blockchain, and we're going to see there's going to be other ways. But isn't some of the blockchain technologies, haven't they been hacked into? And we need that. There's a lot of payment systems. You guys are just, wow. Scott, how do you like to compare to one? Let's see. Don't blame you for that. Yeah, I know what you mean. You guys are talking really, really fast. But I want to keep, whoa. Don't I have ever heard of these? Don, I've never heard of these barometric vein patterns. Okay, so what I want to talk about going forward is I know that a lot of people think that what they're supposed to do is purchase cybersecurity. Like, I'm trying to think of the name of the company. I'm stumbling right now. It was a company that didn't know they were selling data, and they sold like 250 250 pieces of private data over to actual criminals and traded money for them. And I'm trying to think of the data breach. But when data breaches happen, and you have 2FA, because they're going to happen for a while. I don't think data breaches are going away. But then they send you the letter, we've been a data breach and you should change your password. But if you have that 2FA in place and there's a data breach, will that stop? Will that still protect your information because of the 2FA on the front end of it? Do you know what I'm asking? It's like if somebody is dumb enough to get data breached and your information is in that pile and it gets sold out.
Right. So let's say that they got my name, my email, and my address. And maybe they got my username and my password.
Thank you. Equifax. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So if you had my username and my password, now you try and go and use my username and password somewhere else, could that still protect you? Well, it might protect you from some places. First, a lot of people literally use the same username and password in absolutely every single place. And not every single place has 2FA. So it will only halfway protect you. If they had it in a place that had 2FA, then in theory, the FA, the second factor, right, should kick in, and you should, in theory, be okay. If I get one of those notices, I change my password. I don't really want it out there anyway. I just don't want any chances. So I always go and do that.
How often do you change your passwords? Or how often do you suggest businesses change your password?
The official company answer would be every 90 days. They would say to change your password. The reality is people probably don't do that as much. And if you have 2FA, you're in kind of a better spot. If one of the places that you used one had been breached, you can mix it up there. One of the things about the password generators is it actually makes you change your password. And I don't remember if it's 90 days or 6 months, but they force you to change it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that keeps it up. It's kind of like an unnecessary evil for doing business online. And I don't know.
About a company, think about anyone here who's running a company and you have a network and you have access. So we're talking about personal and company kind of at the same time. They're a little bit interchangeable, some of the philosophies for them. So at a company and you have employees, I highly recommend having a password policy, a set of security policies. Training's critical. You want people to understand what it is that we're talking about. Some of these are items that I cover in my training all the time. And we walk through, here's what a phishing email is, and this is what it is you need to be covering. And you want at least a 90-day policy. Let's rechange your network password, right? And let's make sure that you have all of these procedures in place for your company assets, because not only is it money and personal data and the potential from a data breach, but you have confidential and company assets in here too. That can potentially be your IP that you want to be protecting.
That's brilliant. So let's say you want to do business with someone and you're B2B, and they may be a vendor, they could be a strategic alliance or whatever else. How do you broach the security piece when it talks to? Because if you're doing a strategic alliance, if you're doing some sort of venture with someone else and you have great, security, but you don't know what they do, I certainly don't want to hand my customer over to this joint venture if they're not up to snuff. How do you broach that conversation with a company that you're working with or what would like to work with?
Yeah, so the starting point is often a contract, especially in a B2B. And if you're using a cloud vendor, especially some of the big ones, a lot of those are online. People were kind of joking about the terms, right? I can't use the product unless I agree to the terms. Well, for a lot of those, it's going to be online terms, but they're also going to have something called a data protection addendum or a data protection agreement. Kind of depends on the attorney, which A they used. And in that document, it's going to talk about the privacy and security requirements of the company with the data that you, the customer, are giving them. For companies not in that world, and we're just going to, company A, company B, we're going to interchange, then you're going to have a similar contract. And in that contract, it's going to talk about, I'm going to give you this kind of data. You're going to use it for these purposes.
And that's it.
So on and so forth. Now, if I'm global and I have data going overseas, I have other countries that I also have to consider in a cross-border movement.
Yes.
GDPR, I forget if it was Lisa or it was earlier, someone had mentioned about GDPR and CCPA. Well, one of the flurries in GDPR is the cross-border movement. And how do I get data from Europe over to another country? There's only about 12 countries in the world that Europe says it's okay, you can go to without doing anything. They're kind of called adequate countries. And that applies to the security pieces as well. So you have to go through a series of steps to make sure that you're covered in that situation. And then what happens is kind of what I suggested before, which is you can start asking the company, like, no, tell me really, what policies do you have? Do you train your people? Where are what databases is all this information on? Is it encrypted at rest? Meaning I got it to you, now you encrypt it. Okay, great. How do I get the data to you? Do I just send you the Excel file and email and that's fine, right? Is my email encrypted? So you want to understand the type of data you have, how it's getting to the other side. And that's why the data flow is so critical. So we're talking a lot about nuts and bolts of protection, but you kind of can't even protect anything if you have no idea what data you have. So any company on a call, the very first step is to understand the data you have. It's a data flow. Break out your business by process, by function, finance, HR, core product, marketing, right? Whatever it is. And understand, okay, well, within those, I order, I fulfill, I email market, I do digital advertising, whatever the processes are, and understand the data you actually have and where it's stored. Then you can go back and make sure you have the right contracts in place and make sure that those vendors are protecting the data.
Wow, this is so fascinating because as you were talking about this, I could see that we're so globally connected now and everything's global. I know there's floods in China and earthquakes here and more in India, but we're still united globally. And in that flow, data flows everywhere so quickly and so easily. And so if I feel like it's almost like a personal responsibility to protect your data. And I realized today, fundamentally, an epiphany happened to me. And what happened was I didn't think it was my job to protect my data. I think it's their job. And that's not true. It's everyone's job to protect the data. And I never realized that until you just said what you were talking about. And I was like, all that data moving around the world. The first person who's in charge of that data is you. The second person who's in charge of that data is the company you're doing business with. And that to me is the biggest turnaround we can have right now. The biggest piece of empowerment in today's conversation for me was that realization. I don't like it, but it's still the right realization. Thank you for that. That was so important. Once again, the conversation is absolutely off the charts. I can't even find you guys. Let's see. Glinda says, people relax when they say protected after being breached with a company. Thieves will not use when fresh on your mind, but like a year later, it's been sold on the dark web. That's interesting. So if they get your data, they hold it and then sell it later?
Yes, so they could. They might hold it for a while and sell it they might also be holding out for, the highest bidder and things along those lines. So, we talked about 2FA, really making sure you also have alerts, basic alerts like on your credit card and things like that. And actually, if I can throw one more thing out there, it is not in my guide, but the other suggestion is to port. So people always say freeze your credit, right? So that's fun. Freeze this might be more for the US audience. Freeze the port phone number change. So on your cell phone, right, you can move your number if you want to go from Verizon, AT&T to Sprint or whoever you want to go to. You can port your number. Freeze the port so that it can't happen without your permission. I actually have a friend who works at Verizon who was their accounts were hacked, and they went through their phone. They had gotten the ability to port everything over. So we talked about 2FA, which they had all set up, but they had it all set up to their phone. And because they were able to access and literally move the port phone number piece, it was a big disaster. So call up your company and you can freeze the port And then however often you ever plan to change, I mean, like, I don't know, I've been with Verizon forever. So that one's probably not all that annoying if you plan on changing. But then just like the credit, you call up and you can unfreeze it, right? So we have our credit frozen and we have to call up every time we want to go do something and we unfreeze it with the 14 pins.
Yeah, I have a security lock on my credit cards and it only goes up to a certain amount. And then if it's over that amount, they text me and is this you? Did you do this? And if I did, I have to put the code in and then, okay. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt when you're buying something that's over $1,000, but after being hacked and theft about 3 or 4 times, you start getting wise to it and thinking, well, this is it.
I have an alert for every time there's a charge that I didn't physically give the card. Every time, whether it's $2, $5, or $100. So I see it every time. I don't have to approve it. I just see it. I get an email. So
I got to get that.
Or like a push notification. So I can just see, oh, it's $50 to the landscape people. And it was, $20 to the Thai food people, right? Whatever it is, I get that alert all the time.
Love it.
And someone did get my card. I don't know where they got it from, but because of the fraud alerts that I had on my thing, they asked me, was this me? I'm like, no, it's not me. And poof, I had a new card and nothing from,
just like that.
Just like that. Poof, new card, overnighted to my house.
And I think one of the things that is so empowering about this conversation and enriching as well, because the more you do of what she says, the more of your money you're going to keep. Because, people, they are looking for that hole in the boat so they can drain your cash out. And so what's here is the things that you can do to empower yourself, to empower your business, to empower your customers, to make things safer for your business, because that is, this going forward is going to be one of the top concerns in the world is cybersecurity. It is going to continue to be that for a while. Let's see, you guys, I can't even keep up. I'm just going to kind of go through this. Oh my God, Vicki, that's so true. You are the first person in charge of your data. Yes. And I never realized that until this conversation. I've always thought it was the responsibility of the company, of the people who say they're going to save and it's like off my plate. No, it's never off your plate. I want to thank you for that. And
Vicki,
hey, Anna, nice to see you on.
Can I add something to that? Mm-hmm. So, when you go and let's just use the online exchange, right? I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to buy information or buy something online. I give them all my information. We do expect that in that transaction, I trust they're going to give me my product. I trust that it's going to be a great service. That's why I bought from them. Mm-hmm. I also trust that you're going to protect my data. So I do expect, I've gone through my mental list, kind of like you. Wait, you don't have the PayPal button. Are you a secure website? Who are you? Can I trust you? You've gone through that mental list and you're like, okay, I can trust you with my credit card. So I'm going to give you my credit card. I don't like it. You didn't have my PayPal button, but I'm going to trust you with that. So that's the process. There's an element of trust that's happening in that conversion and that piece. So now I buy it. You send me my thing. I love it. I'm happy. Sometime later, you get hacked. Who am I? And whoever hacked you is, some service provider that you had, or like a backbone.
Happened to me.
Who am I, the customer, mad at? Am I mad at the people that you had? No, I'm mad at you. Like the trust is violated in you.
That's right.
Now, it might not have even been your fault. It really might have been these other people, but you have to now, how you communicate to me, you have to earn my trust. You have to make sure it's, we vetted these people. This is XYZ of what happened to them. This is what we're doing going forward. We're going to make sure that we're all okay. So you still have to earn me. Now, it might be a little bit easier depending on the circumstances of what happened, but that element of trust and that PR, that we kind of started the conversation with about customer trust, it's so important because this is where it shows up. I'm buying from you and I expect you, the company, to have done your due diligence. And look, a breach is going to happen. It is hard to perfectly prevent.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure you've done all that you can, and how you communicate it to me is going to be equally important. Doing nothing. I'm like, oh, it's their job.
This is what she said is so important because I've been a victim of just that thing. I hired somebody to do something on my server, on my website. He moved my stuff from my website over to his server. His server was unprotected, literally got into mine, took a lot of money out, and also into Bluehost. I was telling you this beforehand, took down 2 of Bluehost servers as well. 2 servers before we found what was going on. And it took us a lot of time, and I was out of commission, losing money, losing sales, customers going, where are you? I can't get into your site. And these things happen because we don't take these precautionaries. That was powerful, what you said. And freeze the port. Yes, I agree, Robin. Whoa, that I never thought of that. I didn't either. Glenda, since I help others with identity theft, I do have horror stories. So sad. Glenda, that's so interesting too. Yes, alerts work really well. We have those, and I'll tell you, those alerts are, even just having Google alerts is good for you, so you know what's going on. Freeze your port on your cell phone. It protects your cell data and everything else connected to it. It is free. Just call your self-service provider. You guys, thank you for putting this. Oh my gosh, you guys, I cannot keep up with this. And talk to her. I'm going to do one more, and then I think I'm going to, let's see. My bank just saved me a couple of times when I thought I was gone through the vetting layers of okay to share my credit card data. And then the bank was triggered and wouldn't release the funds. Initially annoyed, but overall grateful. Thank you very much. I really like that as well. So you guys, I know I'm looking to see, I see all you guys talking so fast. If you have questions for her, you better ask them now because we got her on. And wow, it's very conversational today. The problem, and by the way, hey, Amber, it's nice to see you. The problem is the flip side of it, more invasive protective measures to protect information. Right now that is going through, but remember, she said in the beginning of the show, you may not have heard this, most of the things that we can protect ourselves for is just having a really good password, a strong password that we change every 2 to 3 months, every 90 days, and 2FA. And you'd be surprised how much data we don't have to give. I think there's a lot of data with the credit card. I just don't even like that. I wish it was PayPal. And more of you vendors out there, but I want to talk about big companies now. We've been talking about, we have a lot of small business owners here, and I get that. Thank you. But we also, in this particular group, we have a lot of multi-million dollar companies, where there's 15 up to 30 mil, I think is somewhere around there. And some people have about 200 employees right there. And I want to talk about what you talked about earlier about, do you go to companies and teach cybersecurity, or do you do it online, or what do you do in that way? What if somebody said, I want that woman to come in because I don't want my team to fall, victim to phishing scams because they're so generally there. What do you do? How do you do that?
Right. So a couple different ways. When we used to go in places and see humans, we did in person workshops. But there's also a lot of off-the-shelf training that exists. That's wonderful. There's a number of different ways to kind of tackle training. So a lot of times people will bring us in because they want a workshop style. They want a person to be able to answer the 50 questions that humans actually have. So the computer-based training is really great to kind of provide that foundation, always have in the background, but we'll come in and kind of customize. So whatever is the specific need, particular part of the company, particular topic, particular issue, and we customize it and deliver, that in-person experience. Well, maybe not in person now, but a webinar-like experience, just like we're having here, right? So we're having a conversation, people are asking questions, we're getting them all addressed. So we do things along those lines. And then kind of look at the holistic piece, which is, all right, so I need to train people, which is actually required by a number of privacy laws, but I also need to have a program in place. So do I have information security policies? Do I have procedures in place? If I have a data breach, what do I do? So I've actually received a couple phone calls. Yeah. I have a data breach. And my first step is, okay, so here are the things that you need to do. And you should have a plan in place to know who to call and what to do. So you want a policy, you want to practice that policy. So we'll help draft the policy. We can help do a simulation and kind of walk through a scenario of, what would you actually do? And when we've done that, people realize, oh, well, the policy we wrote, actually, that was good. But we realized, oh, well, that person's going to be like, they're a one-person shop who's our PR firm. And when these things happen at 5:00 on Friday, she's on vacation. We need the backup plan. Or wait, I don't know who the right attorney is I'm supposed to call. Or I need a forensic firm. I don't have that. So what we go through and kind of look at the holistic program, and then it ties into the privacy piece. So you were asking about privacy notices. There's a number of very specific requirements you need in GDPR and in CCPA under Canada's laws. And so we make sure we go through, we understand the data. The first piece I've mentioned a few times, you have got to understand your data. I can come in and train your people, but it's only like half good. No one's nowhere to protect anything. So I've trained them really well on passwords, 2FA, and phishing, but no one knows how to actually, you need some security folks to protect the actual data, and you can't do that if you don't know where it is. So first, we help you understand where the data is. Then we help you write the privacy notice. We help you write the actual policies that you need so that that employee knows, oh, I can do this, I can't do that. They told me this password thing. It's kind of like an employee handbook. Don't post that on social media. Well, you need a policy that says, I told you, don't post that on social media, right? You need the same thing that says, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So we look at and make a holistic privacy program so that at the end, you have all these pieces as opposed to just your favorite ones.
That was fantastic. I think what I'm enjoying about the conversation is, come on, hasn't she given you a more vast view of something that is happening in the world, a more vast view of how you have to look at protecting your customers, building trust, getting your privacy in place. And this is so incredible to look at it from this vast view and find out that there are solutions in place, solutions already there that we can take advantage of and move into a safer world with our privacy and our data protections in our own companies. And you probably might be able to get her to, the thing about where do you store it and how do you store it? And I never thought of that. I just, this is such an interesting conversation. And I realize I'm almost naive. And I think there's a lot of naivete because when we look at running our business today, we're like, how many sales did we get in? How many sales? Not how many people do we have to protect? How many are they secure when it goes in? Is it really secure? And a lot of times we look at that website and we see that secure sales tag, and they're not really as secure as they should be. Coming from you, I know that. You guys, this is, thank you. Let's see. Yes, security and licensed private investigators to help repair. That's right. Remember to get Jodi's free best work practices document. And if you have a business, I don't care if you're a solopreneur or you're a multi-million-dollar company, get this right now, Jodi's best work practices document right now. Get on that. And somebody from my team, would you please do that? Oh my God, that blew my mind. I know. I have so much work to do. I know. Didn't your mind, your little vision just went, oh my gosh, oh, this is really big. Huge gets from today's Coffee Break Show. I hope so, because it's not a matter of if, but when it happens to you.
Yeah.
This is a thing that you have to do right now. Tell me, how many companies get hit? Do we have any data about how many breaches happen or things like that?
So I don't have handy the number of breaches. There's a huge number, but the one stat that I do have that will resonate with people is 2/3 of small, medium businesses will have a data breach. And 2/3 of those businesses will be out of business in 6 months because of the cost and impact to their business of a small, medium business. And if you think about that, a hacker goes out to the small, medium businesses because they often know they're not investing the time or the tools or the process or the policy into security. A bigger company, more to get, maybe more holes, but they also have teams of people, potentially bigger budgets, so they're going to protect it. It's kind of like the burglar who's going to go to the house with the alarm sign on it. Like, I could go to you, but you're kind of more work. I'm going to go to the house that doesn't have the alarm sign on it. That's going to be an easier one. So I'm going to go and pick you. So it's sort of a similar scenario. And connected to that, There are a number of tools. You had mentioned, Vicki, that there's different cybersecurity tools that companies can buy. And there are some great tools on the market. And I support many of the cybersecurity tools, especially the more data you have, the more people you have, the more complex your business. You need help monitoring and flagging. There's a number of tools that will try and help protect your perimeter, kind of like the alarm on your house, right? You want all the bells and whistles. But you also have to have a plan and process and policy to help support that. Like, it's only as good if I have the alarm, but if I never hit the button, right, what good is that?
Yeah.
Or if I hit the button, but I don't have all the right sensors on, or if the sensor goes off, but no one ever reviews the report or the alert. So sometimes you see some of these breaches, and it's because they didn't do the patches. They have all the bells and whistles. They got the notices, but they didn't investigate, or there were too many to investigate. So you need maybe other tools to help reduce the false positives. So you have to have technology that meets process. And that's where I think a lot of companies get the tool and the technology and think, I'm good. It's kind of like if you go and buy cybersecurity insurance. So quick tip. If you have cybersecurity insurance, it does not mean you're done. It's like any other insurance policy you have. You have to read the fine print to actually know what you will be covered and how you will be covered, and what any other policy that you have will interfere with cybersecurity insurance. So it's great to have it. You should have it, but you have to understand what you bought. So they all intertwine and go together. So just kind of know, if you have one of these items, if you have the tool, you're not done. If you have a process, you're not done. And if you have cybersecurity insurance, that's great, but there's more. You have to weave them together for what's appropriate and applicable for your sized business and the business you're in. It all just needs to be right sized to where you are.
This has been so enriching.
The number of data breaches. I've actually heard that number is higher, like
this one right here,
64 million.
I think it's just like
sensitive records. The actual number of data breaches is more like billions of records. It just might not be sensitive.
Well, even in the sensitive records right now, that's over 50% of the population of the United States. 50%. So let's say in 2018, the numbers were the same. That means everybody's data has been stolen at least once without you even knowing it, without you having experienced the pain of that data right there. Thank you, Scott, for that. If it's just sensitive data right there, that's 50% of the United States having been there. You could be part of that 164 million. So let's see. So since it happened to me more than once, I should be safe, right? Just kidding. 2/3 of small businesses will have a data breach. 2/3 of those companies will be out of business due to the expense of just fixing the data breach. That's such a huge thing. If you want your cyber security, cyber safety completely in place, you don't want to lose your business because some jerk hacked into your business. Let's see here. You guys, wow. I'm trying to just skip through a little because we're at the top of the hour and you guys are talking like, wow. Let's see. It's hard to imagine that any of us are safe from these breaches, considering the size of these security failures year after year after year. And this is the thing. That's why I just got today. First me. I'm the first defense line right there between me and protecting my data. And that is so important. Cyber security insurance. Who knew? That's right. And if you have cyber security insurance, you are not done. That's the first thing. You have to weave all of these safety tools together. It's like now cybersecurity should be a department in every business that does, I don't know, probably 400,000 or more a year. I would say if you do 100K in sales, you need to have a department just for cybersecurity issues. And yes, a decentralized internet protocol seems to be the ultimate and only answer for these security issues. I don't know. I'm not, heavy on both of those. Jodi, they're asking if you would talk about synthetic theft.
I have to be honest. I'm not sure I'm going to be the best person to be able to talk about synthetic theft. So I'm going to have to defer. Linda, maybe you have more info that I'm happy to talk about. But I don't talk about that one too much.
Synthetic identity
I
theft is a type of fraud in which a criminal combines real and fake information to create a new identity that
No.
you may be the face of, I think.
Right.
Is that what you're
So I
talking
don't think I
about?
had heard of it quite. The phrase, I think, caught me off guard a little bit. You know, what's interesting on this is if I create a new identity and I'm able to use that, you kind of have to go to the companies that are using this information and how you're verifying. So if you're a verification service, you have to be understanding how are you, like, what is the verification that's actually happening? And there's a lot of other companies that are out there that are in the verification business that will be able to piece together multiple data points to help prevent that. And kind of going to, much like you would do, wanting to review your credit reports and things like that. And Glenda, you're talking about 2-year-olds getting breached, no one's safe. So my 1-year-old, I remember we got a letter from a doctor's office that she had, and right, literally she's 1 year old. So is reviewing your credits report, or your kids' credit reports, and you can also freeze those as well.
Oh, nice.
To try and help prevent that. So some of these things, to Scott, your point, it is very challenging to be able to prevent everything when you have all types of companies collecting and using data. And we only have so much control, right? We can only kind of do a little bit. But if we all do our part and we all try and push on companies and explain to them, shop with your wallet, right? Shop where companies are going to take it in a secure fashion. If you're the victim of a data breach at a company, let that company know, be vocal about it. So, it sounds like we have a lot of advocates here to continue to advocate, whether it's in your industry, associations, your legal and political system, to pass the laws that you believe are necessary. It's kind of top down and bottom up to be able to help solve the problem. But it is here to stay, and it is truly a global problem.
Yeah, it's a global issue, and I don't see it going away soon. So I think that the things with you that you've shared today, totally, wow, completely mind-blowing and enlightening. And right now it has created a fever pitch conversation. Yes, Jodi, because by the time they get into college, they find out that they bought a home or two. That's right. And, a lot of people, this is going to be going on for quite some time. Like this, my son's Social Security was hacked into at 18. It took him 10 years to get it fixed. And the issue is that it's so, this is what I feel right here. Thank you, Jodi. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing yourself. I just want to say, if you are a company and you're listening to this, and you are serious about getting somebody in there to talk to your people and you finding out how you can shore up your data security, you want to get a hold of Jodi right now. And the link is in the description below. Karen, would you put it up one more time for us so we can get that? If you haven't gotten her freebie, go get that freebie. And do me a favor, Karen, would you put that link underneath there so that you can go ahead and take a look at your security needs for your business right now. Don't be fooled. If you make $50,000 a year, you still need cybersecurity. You still have clients, you still have customers, and you want to be able to protect those. If you have employees, you want them to know how to protect your business. And that requires that you have some education pieces and know-how and a system for cybersecurity in place. Just such an incredible show. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself on our show today. Thank you for being so generous with your knowledge. Listen, I told you guys, didn't we? I told you I was going to bring you what you're going to need for that post-pandemic economy. She probably gave us $10,000 worth of information for this hour for free, just for that generosity, and then decided to give us some free stuff. Awesome info. Thank you so much. Here's where you can get a hold of her. Here's where you can go ahead and hire her. Here's where you can take the reins and of your company and say, I'm going to add this into her. And then all I need is somebody to pop up that thank you. Thank you. Let's see what we got here. They don't want your money. Sometimes they want your identity. That's true. You got to protect that as well. Get that freebie on her site right here. Just go to Red Clover Advisors. And here is the whitepaper.com for the remote working guide. We have another, there's everything in there. And maybe I could even persuade her to chat with you guys on the Facebook feed, because man, it is, I haven't even gotten to 1/10 of the questions here. I want to thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's very buzzing.
Fun to have so many insightful questions. So
it's so
Scott
buzzy.
And Lisa and Glinda and Don, thank you so much. And Karen and Robin, really, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone. Tomorrow is going to be Thursday, and I know you're going to be wanting to talk about this today, and we will again. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mwah! Peace out, everybody. Now, I don't know what you're